You are probably one of the most humble guys I've ever met. You know, you don't brag, you don't boast. You know, I'm trying to be all shiny and like living this perfectionist lifestyle, and you're like the quiet one over there. But I gotta share this though. I was at the speaking of you being humble, you haven't bought a pair of brand new jeans, and I don't know how long at this point. And this story is probably 5 or 6 years old now. Yeah, it is. I got to talk about this too. So, but okay, you don't go out and buy clothes. I go out and I buy jeans. I'm like, I'm going to get this brand because, you know, they feel good and, you know, they're going to last. Right. And we were at the mall, and Crystal goes, she goes, oh, you're looking for a pair of pants, something like that. And I'm like, no, I'm going to buy a pair of pants for Steven. She's like, well, why would you buy a pair of pants for my brother? So I buy this pair of pants. They're sitting in my truck now forever. I'm waiting to like see you. Whenever I see you, I'm going to give them to you. I've seen you now multiple times and just hasn't worked out. Finally, you're over at the house visiting one evening. And I remember about these pants. And I think I had one of my kids, probably Reagan, run down to my truck and grab these pants. And he ran them over and handed them to Crystal. And you take these pants that night, I believe it was. You're on your way over to Transformed. I think, you know what?
You gave them to me when you got there.
That's what it was. You had left our driveway. You were gone, and I missed an opportunity again to give you these pair of pants. This is why this story is so cool. You invite me over to Transformed, and turns out, you were going to do this Transform thing, and God told you, you know, you were hoping for 80 some guys to go with you, and God said, no, I want you to take one person. And you're like, okay, who do I take? Am I correct?
Yeah.
And he said, Rob. Like, you heard my name, Rob. And looking back, I'm like, man, I don't know why I was the first one over here. I don't understand this. Like
10 years ago.
If it's been that long, it blows my mind if it's been 10 years ago.
Well, that's when I first started. But yeah, it was about 7 years now that you came over. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, because you've been birthing this idea of Transform for years.
Yeah, God led me back over for 2.5 years by myself. Just keep going over 3 times a year. But that was the first time that you came with me. Yeah, and you walked into my room, and I had read a scripture about 6 weeks before, and it was just this weird scripture. You know, it says, come before me, something to this effect, come before me in holy attire. It was in the Old Testament. And I was like, all right, I don't remember reading that before, but I know what holy means. It means sanctified, set apart, unique and all this kind of stuff. And it was like this whole thing of just coming to God, just so laid back in the churches today. And so I was like, all right, what do you want me to do with this? And so I hate dressing up and getting, it's like I had to do a wedding this week, and I was like, oh, I hate this, tie and the whole thing. And so I literally said, okay, I'm going to wear these dress clothes to church. And I did that for 6 weeks begrudgingly. And so I'm over there. That was my own little struggle. That I was wearing these dress pants instead of jeans. And that's when you gave me those jeans. I don't know if you want to tell a story or me, but yeah.
Yeah. So I go over there. So we miss you. You're gone. So now I bring these pants over, and I think you said something about holy attire or something maybe to me at that point. I was like, oh yeah, I got something for you. And I went over to the room I was staying in, and I grabbed this bag. And you said something about holy attire is what it was. You didn't explain everything in detail yet, I don't think. And I give you these jeans, and they're not.
No, you gave me the jeans before I mentioned anything. You just walked in and you gave me the jeans. Yeah.
Oh, I did. That's what it was. Okay.
I remember the story really well, because I'm sitting on my bed and you walked in and you said, hey, I got you something. And you gave me these jeans. And I'm like, what are these? And you go, I just got you some jeans. And then you started walking out, and you go, hey, I don't normally tell you what something cost, but he's like, just don't go, just don't go out and mow the yard of me.
That's what I said. That's right.
And I was like, well, how much you spend? And you told me some insane number. It was a few $100s or so. I'm like, I'm not wearing these jeans. I will never wear these jeans. But you can take them back. I'm not going to wear them. And we're having this argument, and then you just walked out, and I'm sitting there, and God just says, you don't get it, do you? Like I just gave you these stretchy, wonderful jeans that are sanctified, that are set apart, that they're holy. And yeah. So I still wear these, these incredible jeans. It's just, it's just wild where I go. And that's the only thing I only use these, for meeting, in with God and stuff. So it's just really cool. So.
Yeah, that's just a small story compared to like things that God has like shown you and given you. I mean, try to think of another one right now that I would want to bring up. Something small. We'll talk about shoes for a minute. I think you had a pair of shoes that I had given you at one point, and you had a pair that just blew out on you or something? I had no idea.
And you got these crazy stories. So you probably don't remember this, but you gave me these pair of shoes, On Clouds, right? I think they're called On Clouds.
Yeah, I think so.
And so you brought them over the house. You said, hey, I don't know, I'm not wearing these or whatever. And so you gave them to me, and I absolutely loved them. They were the most comfortable shoes I ever wore. And then I met you like 2 weeks later coming down to the house, and you were walking and you go, hey, I know I gave you those shoes, but those weren't the ones that God told me to give you. I'm supposed to give you another. You gave me a pair of No Bulls shoes. And so I was like, what in the world? So anyways, I have these two very nice pair of shoes, and I wore those On Clouds for, probably 2.5 years, almost every single day. And then the sole started coming off in the front. That was on a Saturday night. And anyways, I was like, oh no, man, I love these shoes. I went to church on Sunday the next night, and somebody came from an hour and a half away to the service. And when the service got over, they said, hey, Pastor Steve, we have a little something for you. And they brought me a pair of tennis shoes and said, God told me to give you these. They're like $200 shoes. I can't remember what the name brand of them are.
Hey, it doesn't matter. The point is, like, the second they're worn out.
I looked them up. They're the number one most comfortable shoe. They're saying the walking shoe. I can't remember what they're Hokas. Yeah. And they brought me a pair of Hokas.
Those things do look a little old fart, but I've heard they're really comfortable.
Oh my word. They are so comfortable. They're worth it. They're the most comfortable shoe I've ever worn. But yeah, it was just like bang, bang, bang. God, I'm still wearing them today. This is like probably 5 years now. It's just crazy.
So those are just some small stories, okay, of things God has done for you. But there are some crazy stories too, where, you're driving down the road and you're like, turn around and talk to this person. And one story I remember, you were on your way to church, or maybe you were running late or something, or you were going to be running late if you turned around and talked to this person. So walk us through that story real quick.
Oh yeah. I just shared all three of them yesterday in service. Yeah. But yeah, three times. And just the last recent one has been about a week and a half ago, that all these guys said they had just attempted, or one had just gotten out of jail because he had jumped in front of an 18-wheeler a few days before. And the one you're talking about is, I was late for church. I had been in another church and I was going in my church, and I was late, and God just told me to stop and talk to this guy. And so I was like, I'm late for church, And so I just kept going, and I drive over the bridge, and God's like, you're disobeying me. So I turned back around. I shot across the lanes of traffic and pulled. It was rude. I pulled right in front of this guy, and he's like, literally almost puts his hand on my truck. And I was like, I stop, roll my window down. I go, this is going to sound really weird, but God told me to stop and talk to you. And he just goes, any other day that would sound weird, but it doesn't sound weird to me today, because I just had a 9mm in this hand and a recovery card in this hand. And he said, I chose this hand for some reason, put it to my head, pulled the trigger. He said the hammer actually hit the shell and made an indentation on the shell, but it did not go off. So today that doesn't sound weird to me. He comes around, gets in my truck. I get to pray with the guy. It was just incredible. Yeah. So we spent a long time together, and yeah, it was amazing. But yeah, that's just one. Yeah, there's a lot of those.
And of course, the story of you praying for me. There was nights you're getting phone calls like, hey, will you please pray for Rob? I don't know where he is. I don't know what's going on. And, you're praying. And those are miracle stories that God has answered prayers to, because I feel like because of your walk, because you are humble, because you are looking to please God more than man. And I feel like he has like blessed you with miracle after miracle. One other one I got to talk about that.
Don't forget that, because I just want to say something real quick, because the cool part is with the prayer. I've been praying for you every day for 15 years, right? And laboring in the mornings. And I think I'm almost positive it was 3 days before that I switched you over. I need to go back in my journal, but I'm almost positive it was 3 days before that God told me, move Rob from, and it was probably the very day that you prayed that prayer, from the prayer request to the praise side, right? Just start thanking me. So I just started writing your name instead of on the prayer request side, in my journal. I moved you over to the thanks side. And then that's when Crystal called me and she's like, Rob's been in the hospital for 3 days. And I'm like, what? And I go back and that was the day the Lord just said, start thanking him.
Yeah, you're going to have to look for that, because the day I threw up that Hail Mary prayer in my mind, it was 3 days before I felt those three things. And then if that is exactly what worked out, how amazing would that be? And then it took me 3 days in the hospital for them to figure out what was actually wrong and for me to get my stent. So, but one more story though, one more miracle story I think I got you guys share, because there's so many. You guys got to read the book, But talk about the one where you guys needed, was it a washer or a dryer?
Yeah, it was a washer.
It was a washer. You go over to a appliance store and you walk in and you're like, were they too much money? Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was like $1,100 though. I think it was like $1,100 for one. She just didn't want an agitator in it, and we got 11 kids. So I had to get this big one. And we found one that I thought would work. And
is this one big enough to like put all the kids in the washer so you save on shower time?
So I go out to the front and I just start praying. I'm like, Lord, if this is what you want me to do, spend $1,100 of your money on this washing machine. And I'm literally go out and I sit in front of, I think it was Lowe's or Home Depot. And I'm sitting there and somebody from the church comes up and sees me. And I'm literally just got my knees to my chest, just sitting out the front. And they go, hey, Pastor Steve, you all right? And I was like, oh, this probably isn't the best face to be on. So I go to my truck and I'm sitting in my truck. And I lay the seat all the way back and I'm just listening. I'm like, Lord, do you want me to go in there and get this? Because I had been out of town, I think, and my wife had been like 3 or 4 days and the laundry's just like piling up. I'm like, is this what you want me to do? And so somebody else from the church came in the parking lot and they noticed my truck. And I'm sitting in there and praying about the washing machine. And I hear, bam, my tailgate drop. I'm like, what in the world? And I look back and there's this guy sitting back on my tailgate. And I go out there and it's this guy from the church who said, I was just going to sit in your truck and just wait for you to come out because I noticed it was your truck. And so he said, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I was just in there praying about if I'm supposed to get this washing machine. And I didn't feel clear about it. So literally it was if I can remember the kind of washing machine, it was a Bravos. I think it was a Maytag, Bravos that I was going to buy. And I went in there to get it. At one point I was like, all right, this is the one. And cause it was on sale. It was on half price, I think, cause it was like $600. And I said, okay, we'll take it. But that one was unavailable. And so the next step up was $1,100. And that's why I was out front. I'm like, Lord, is that what you want me to do? And so anyways, I told the guy the little story and I said, I'm not getting it. I'm driving home because I don't feel like I got an answer. And within 15 minutes that I got home, this guy showed up with the exact same washer, right? And the exact same one, Maytag Bravos, if I remember correctly. But this one was an XL. This was even bigger than. And so, yeah, that was just a cool story. I mean, just, they're never ending, but
they're not. We could go on and on and on, but that's why you got to read the book. But in some of these stories, I mean, are all the stories so far, were you current in the book? Because I know you had to come out with another edition too.
I've got a lot of stories that I'm compiling that I haven't added in there yet. Because I've still got like 2,000 books. I'm giving them out like candy.